Hi. So I'm recording this video with the hope that it can help a few people who may see it, regardless of their situation. I hope that you can pull something from this, but it's not exactly the easiest video to record, so be patient with me. Today is a very special day for me. I call it my Rebirth Day. And today in particular is special because I'm finally in a place, a setting, an environment with appropriate people and everything that I can fully celebrate. But it's the anniversary of my near-death day, where I almost died at the hands of a group of men after they beat me and raped me in Africa. So, why do I celebrate this day? Well, I celebrate it because I'm alive. It's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of realizing that I was this close to transcending, crossing over, ceasing to exist in this physical realm, whichever you want to say. And I didn't, which at the time was very, very difficult because at that time I think anyone would have preferred to not be squeezed back into this tiny vessel of a body to deal with what had just occurred. However, I was squeezed and I accepted that I was awake and alive and not so well at the time, but that I would get well, that I would be okay, that I could handle it. But today in particular is really special to me because the very first year I was alone in my village in Tanzania, having to deal with the memories, the flashbacks, the constant obsession of details, and it was really hard, my first anniversary. The second anniversary was probably even harder because I was on my way by myself on a plane to London to catch a connecting flight to go to Africa to testify. It just happened to land on that day. I found it to be a test of the universe to really find my strength, find my courage, find my independence, not depending on other people to help me run away from it, but rather I was forced with it, had to sit with it both times, the first year and the second year. And they were really hard. They were really hard, especially after I left my Kindle on the plane. Dummy. I left my Kindle on the plane and had a layover in Heathrow Airport in London for 7 hours by myself on January 18th, and I cried and cried and cried. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that now I'm with my family. I'm at my parents' house. I have my perfect, amazing husband. And I don't throw the word perfect around too often, so I mean it when I say it. I finally have beautiful sunshine and people and happiness, and it's a representation of all of those years in between that still were full of beautiful people and happiness and acceptance for the tragedy that had happened. But now, on this very day, I get to share it with happiness, and there's no pain. Well, I'm not going to say there's no pain, but it's different. It's an air of lightheartedness. It's a celebration of realizing that up until that point, my life path may have strayed away from my sole purpose. In no way am I blaming myself for what happened. In no way am I blaming any sort of behavior for it being a trigger point or anything. We need to really, really work hard on our victim blaming and our rape culture in society today. But what I'm saying is that I didn't realize I was straying from my life's purpose, my sole purpose, until I almost died. And that can happen to us in various ways. It could be a car accident. It could be an overdose. It can be a suicide attempt. It can be anything that nearly brings you to that point of transcendence and rips you right back into your body. And at that point, afterwards, of course, after everything's kind of like settled in and you're comprehending what's happened to you, at that point, I realized, wow, if I had died at that moment, I would not have been completely 100% satisfied with the way I had lived my life up until then. Sure, I felt like I was a good person. I felt like I lived with love. I preached about forgiveness and happiness, but I was distracted by a lot of earthly desires that were keeping me from fully expressing my core essence, what I want to be and do and help people with. And I changed my ways, not my person. I just saw my values clearer, and I saw my behaviors, and I found the discrepancies in that, and I mended that gap. Slowly, it wasn't instant. It took me about 8 months to really finally start to see, like, oh wow, okay, I'm shifting, I'm changing. I'm becoming a little more aware of my existence in this and purpose in this world. And after about 8 months, it just was like a snowball effect of like, okay, I'm going to make these decisions because it makes me shine. It makes me bright. It makes me impact others in a positive way. And it was just nothing but up from there. And it's funny because a lot of people would think it should be nothing but down from that point. And I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying that it still is easy, because sometimes it's still really hard. On the anniversary day, you're thinking about it constantly. You think about a loved one that you've lost. A grandmother, a mother, a father, a brother, sister, friend, anybody that you were really, really close to and they passed away. How do you feel every time their death anniversary comes up? It's heavy. You think of them the whole day. You think of them the entire week. You think of memories. You think of things you should have done differently or wished you could have done differently. That's exactly how it is for someone who has been through tragedy of any kind. I'm not limiting this to rape. I'm not limiting this to even sexual assault. It can be any kind of tragedy. A lot of people in this world suffer from PTSD, and they experience it over and over and over, usually in day-to-day life. But, for those of us who don't necessarily suffer from, I have not been clinically diagnosed with PTSD. I was only diagnosed with acute PTSD the months following, but that's to be expected. But for those of us who don't deal with it on a daily basis, we definitely deal with it on the anniversary. And it's even something, if you're not consciously thinking about it, your body remembers it. You might show signs of sickness. It's really weird. It's, and the air is definitely heavy, but I have always wanted to make this a day of celebration because it was the day I lived, and it was the day I proved to these men that I was stronger than them, no matter how many there were. And that I represented women, men, children, all around the world that have experienced similar thing that survived. And I carried through, and I followed through, and I testified. And I'm proud of myself for that. And I don't think there's anything egotistical about that. So I do celebrate this day. And it is a rebirth day. And I treat it as if it's my special day. And I think that's fine. I don't think it's egotistical. We should all technically have rebirth days. If you think about it, every single one of us has a point in our lives, whether it was triggered by tragedy or whether it was just an aha moment. We all have a point in our lives where we're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm not following my path. I'm not following my purpose. And it's not even about finding your purpose at that moment. It's about planning or starting to change your behaviors to align with your values so that your purpose can be explored with fluidity and ease. And those moments, those aha moments, whether it's triggered by tragedy or not, we should celebrate that day. We should put that down in the books. All of us should have 2 birthdays every year, a birthday and a rebirth day. Celebrate the evolving of your soul, the evolving of your human being existence, the way you impact others and how it changes and brings people together. I don't know, it depends on your values. Everybody's different. We don't all care about saving the world and fixing everything with compassion. I get that that is a value of mine, but it doesn't have to be the same for everyone else. But at least recognize what's in your heart and if you're living for that. And if you're not living for that, then what are you doing? What are you doing? So if you don't have a rebirth day, if you don't have an aha moment, if you don't have tragedy, maybe this can be a rebirth day too, where you start to think, what are my values? What are my behaviors, my choices? Are they showing self-love? Are they reflecting my values? And if the answer is no, maybe this can be a rebirth day where you start to make those changes. Find true happiness, discover truth, speak your truth loudly without hurting others, of course. But that's also a journey. I'm still trying to figure that out with like my passion of veganism and this and that. But you know what? We're all going to learn for the rest of our lives until we die. But at least maybe I can use my story, my tragedy, or my evolutionary catalyst to inspire others to not have to go through tragedy to deserve a rebirth or to earn, that's not the right word, but to form a rebirth, you know. So maybe that's one reason that it happened, and I'm okay with that. But in the meantime, I am going to go celebrate my rebirth day. I made a raw vegan pumpkin chocolate pie, and I'm baking a loaf of fresh brown rice bread, and my husband is going to bake barbecue chickpea burgers, and my dad bought me lovely flowers, and my mom got me a beautiful art piece to hang on my wall that reminded her of me. So I'm going to go celebrate, and I hope that you celebrate too. Because life is just one large celebration, even if it sucks sometimes. Anyway, we love you at Soul and Wonder. We want to see you thrive. We want to see you shine. Let's put our hearts on our sleeves and help each other get through this crazy experience of life. Adios.